JaneEli your math teacher facilitator for today. Today, we are going to discuss about Math 7, Quarter 1, Week 6. Square roots. Objectives. The learner determines the principal root of a perfect square number and differentiates rational from irrational. Square roots. Ano nga ba ang square roots? Square root, for example, in this expression, this symbol is called as the radical sign, o ito yung tinatawag nating root sign. And the number inside is what we call a radicand. So, parang katulad lang ng mga addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So, ito yung meron din tayong tinatawag na inverse. Okay? So, for example, in the expression 3, if we square 3, the resulting number is 9. So, this means 3 times 3 is 9. So, if we take the reverse or the inverse rather, so we are going to take its root. Okay, thus the resulting is 3. So, if we get the square root of 9, the resulting number is 3. So, the square root of a given number is a number whose square is the given number. If square root of a is an integer, then the number a is called a perfect square. The positive square root of a positive real number is called as principal square root. For example, 1 squared, 1 is the principal root, and 1 is a perfect square number. 2 squared, 2 is the principal root, and 4 is a square number. So, meaning square root of 4 is equal to 2. Square root of 1 is equal to 1. 3 squared is equal to 9. 4 squared, 16. 5 squared, 25, and so on. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are principal roots, while 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25 are perfect square numbers. So, ano pa ba yung mga perfect square numbers? So, kung maaalala ninyo yung ating multiplication table, so, yung nasa gitna na yan ay tinatawag nating perfect square numbers. Next. Properties of square roots. So we have a product property and quotient property. The product property, the square root of the product is equal to the product of the square roots. In algebraic notation, square root of a times b is equal to square root of a times the square root of b, where a and b are positive real numbers or 0. For example, square root of 40. 40 can be expressed as square root of 4 times the square root of 10. Square root of 4 is equal to 2 times the square root of 10, since 10 is not a perfect square. Another example, square root of 5 times the square root of 20 can be expressed also as square root of 5 times 20. 5 times 20 is equal to 100. Square root of 100 is 10. Quotient property. The square root of the quotient is equal to the quotient of the square roots in algebraic notation. Square root of A divided by B is also equal to square root of A divided by square root of B, where A and B are positive real numbers and B should not be equal to 0, because any fraction divided by a 0 is undefined. So example, square root of 4 over 9 is the same as square root of 4 all over square root of 9. Square root of 4 is equal to 2 and square root of 9 is equal to 3. Then, square root of 4 over 9 is the same as 2/3. Next, rational or irrational. How can we identify if an expression is a rational or irrational? Remember that a rational number is expressed as a fraction or decimal. Every terminating or non-terminating repeating decimal represents a rational number. A square root of a number is a number when multiplied by itself will give you the original number. For example, the square root of 9 are positive 3 and negative 3. But the principal root is positive 3. So remember, 3 times 3 is 9 and negative 3 times negative 3 is also equal to 9. If the square root of a number is a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal, we say that it is an irrational number. Examples. Square root of 169, square root of 60, square root of 81. So which or who among them is an example of a rational or irrational? So for number 1, we have square root of 169, then 169 is a perfect square. So it means this is a rational number. Square root of 60, 60 is not a perfect square, then therefore square root of 60 is irrational. While square root of 81 is equivalent to 9, then square root of 81 is a rational. Next. In addition, negative numbers do not have real square roots. Their square roots are called imaginary numbers. So example, square root of negative 16. So it has no specific roots. We call it imaginary numbers, which are being tackled in higher branch of mathematics. So pinakita ko lang sa inyo. So next. Square roots are the numbers that, when multiplied by themselves, equal to the number under the square root sign, the radicand. If the principal square root is irrational, the best you can do is to give an estimate of its value. Next, find the principal root of the following and tell whether the number is rational or irrational. So, makikita nyo to sa inyong module. So, if A is the square root of 16, B square root of 40, C square root of 144, D square root of 180, E square root of 6.25, and F square root of 4 all over 25. So, hanapin natin dyan, ano nga ba yung mga perfect square? Or, ano ba yung magkakaroon ng principal root na kapag minultiply natin ay ng dalawang beses ay yung radicand natin. So, for letter A, ayan, letter A is rational. Bakit? Square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong number na kapag minultiply natin ng dalawang beses, ay equal sa radicand. Next, number 2, square root of 40. Again, 40 is not a perfect square. So, therefore, it is irrational. Then, sa letter C, square root of 144 is the same as 12 times 4. 12 times 12. So, 12 times 12 is 144. Thus, 144 is a perfect square number. So, letter D, square root of 180 is not a perfect square kasi wala tayong number na kapag multiply natin dalawang beses will result to 180. Next, E, square root of 6.25. So, if we multiply 2.5 by itself, the resulting number is 6.25. So, therefore, it is a rational number. And then, F, ganun din, square root of 4 over square root of 25 is equal to 2 over 5. And therefore, it is a rational number. Another example, between which two consecutive integers does each number lie? A, square root of 54, B, square root of 105, C, square root of 150, and D, square root of 799. So, yung mga radicand na yan, ano daw yung number na magkasunod na number na integer, nasa gitna sila. So, paano natin yung malalaman? So, for example, here, ito yung ating integers. When we square it, we will get the perfect square number. So, here, 54. Saan ba natin makikita yung 54? So, kung makikita nyo, ito ay 49. So, 64. So, ibig sabihin, square root of 54 is between 7 and 8. So, nakita nyo? So, nandito yung 54. So, ang integer between them, so, the integers are 7 and 8. So, nasa gitna si square root of 54 ni 7 at ni 8. Next, 105. So, alam naman natin na yung 10 times 10 is 100. So, ibig sabihin, nasa gitna si 105, square root of 105, ni 10 at ni 11. Okay, next we have 150. Ano ba yung number na nasa gitna si 150? So, alam natin na si 13 times 13 is 169. At yung 12 is 12 times 12 is 144. So, therefore, 150 is, square root of 150 is in between the integers 12 and 13. While square root of 799 is in between with 28 and 29. Next. Another example, what integer is in between? Ngayon naman, hanapin natin ano yung integer na nasa gitna ng dalawang expression. So, for example, square root of 3 and square root of 8. Ano yung gitna niya? Ano yung makikita natin na nasa gitna niya? Sa letter B, square root of 180 and 199. And D, C yan dapat, 899 and 901. So, ano yung number na makikita natin? Anong integer? So, since ang perfect square between square root of 3 and square root of 8, ano ba yon? Diba, square root of 3. So, ang next sa kanya is square root of 4, square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7. So, alin doon yung perfect square? So, alam naman natin na ang perfect square sa kanila ay square root of 4. So, therefore, ano yung integer? Ano ba yung principal root ni square root of 4? So, ang integer is 2. Do you follow? Okay, next. Between square root of 180 and square root of 199. So, ano ba yung number na nasa gitna nila? So, alam natin na meron tayong square root of 196. So, ano yung integer na yan? Square root of 196 is equal to 14. Next. Square root of 899, square root of 900 is in between square root of 899 and square root of 901, which is equal to 30. Next. I hope lahat nakakasunod, ha? Okay, number 4. So, simplify each expression without using a calculator. So, paano nga ba natin yung masisimplify? So, let's see. For example, here, ayan, makikita niyo po yung mga example sa ating module. So, let's try to answer. Number 1. Negative square root of 81. So, parang ano rin yan? Negative 1 times the square root of 81. So, si negative outside the radical sign. So, square root of 81 is 9. So, since meron tayong negative, negative times positive is negative. So, negative 9. Next. Square root of 49 plus square root of 361. So, square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 361 is 19. So, ibig sabihin, 7 times 7, 49. 19 times 19 is 361. So, if we add the roots, 7 plus 19 is equal to 26. Next, square root of 100 minus square root of 256. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of 256 is 16. So, since we are subtracting integers, so 10 minus 16, follow the rules of side numbers, diba? Mas malaki yung 16, so i-adapt natin yung sign. So, negative 6. Next, square root of negative 64. Again, if we have a radicand that is negative, it means it has no real number because there is no real number solution to the square root of a negative number. So, ang tawag natin doon, imaginary numbers. Next, square root of 7 raised to 2. Ibig sabihin, if we express that if we expand the exponent form, that means square root of 7 times the square root of 7. So, 7 times 7 sa ating product property, 7 times 7 is equal to 49. Then, square root of 49 is equal to 7. So, usually, kapag mapapansin nyo, kapag squared to, tapos may square root yan, na i-eliminate lang yung radical sign, so kukunin lang natin yung root. Next. Another example. Square root of 3,600. So, this can be expressed as square root of 36 times the square root of 100. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 100 is 10. Then 6 times 10 is 60.
Next, number 7. 3 square root of 5 squared. So, 3 square root of 5 squared can be expressed as 3 square root of 5 times 3 square root of 5. Thus, 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And then square root of 5 times 5 is square root of 25. And square root of 25 is 5. Then, 9 times 5 is 45. Another example, if we have square root of 9 over 100. So, by quotient properties, this is the same as square root of 9 over square root of 100. Square root of 9 is 3, square root of 100 is 10. And that ends our lesson today. So maraming salamat sa mga module writer ng Division of Parañaque dahil ang module na ginamit natin ay sa Parañaque. So maraming salamat po.